Good morning, friends. I hope you all are fine and healthy. Today I am here with Organisms and Population, Part 2 of 12th Standard. In today's session, we will discuss about adaptation, important questions related to adaptation, population attributes, population growth and its basic processes, population density, and population growth model. So let us start the session. First, it is about adaptation. Adaptation means adjustment of an organism by having certain features that enhance its capacity to withstand in a particular environment. So we can say that adaptation is any attribute of the organisms, maybe morphological, maybe physiological, or maybe behavioral attribute. This enables the organism to survive and reproduce in its habitat. Adaptation may be genotypic or phenotypic. Genotypic adaptation occurs by natural selection as individuals with favorable genetic character produce more offspring than those who are lacking these characters or traits. Phenotypic adaptation is due to physiological modification or behavioral changes. Thus, in short, adaptation is the favorable adjustment to the environment by changing the shape, size, color, etc. of an organism. Now, let us discuss about few questions which are related to adaptation. First question is how kangaroo rat in North American desert is capable of meeting its entire water requirement. The answer to this question is that kangaroo rat in North American deserts is capable of meeting all its water requirement through its internal fat oxidation, in which water is a byproduct, because during oxidation of fat, water and carbon dioxide is released. So that water is utilized. Second question is write down the adaptive features of desert plants. We know that desert plants are those plants which survive in a scarcity or very less amount of water. So adaptive features of desert plants are they have thick cuticle on their leaf surfaces, they have sunken stomata, then crassulacean acid metabolism pathway through which the stomata remains closed during daytime. So this also prevents the loss of water during the transpiration. Some desert plants have no leaves or they are reduced to spines, and photosynthesis is done by their green flattened stem. Third question is how mammals from colder climates adapt themselves. So mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ear and limbs, and this shorter ear and limbs helps them to minimize heat loss, whereas aquatic mammals have thick layer of fat below their skin, and this fat acts as an insulator and helps in reducing the loss of body heat. Next question is how did your body solve the problem of altitude sickness? Altitude sickness is due to continuous exposure, low amount of available oxygen at a higher altitude. So in this case, our body can cope up by increasing the production of RBC, that is red blood cells, and by increasing breathing rate. So at this situation, we should give time to adjust to changing oxygen concentration. For that, we should take rest and avoid smoking as well as drink extra water. Fifth question is that why the people living in the high altitude of Himalayas have a higher red blood cell count than the people living in plains. We know that at higher altitude of Himalayas there is low concentration of available oxygen. So to meet that condition, their bodies have higher production of red blood cells. That is the higher RBC count or total hemoglobin. And this helps them for high breathing rate than do the people living in plains with more oxygen available. Now, sixth question is how archaebacteria flourish in hot springs and deep sea hydrothermal vents. Microbes such as archaebacteria can survive in very high temperature. They are called as thermophiles. They can survive in deep sea hydrothermal vent or hot spring, and this is due to their structural differences present in the properties of the lipid bilayer. Seventh question is how do fish manage to keep their body fluid from freezing? We know that fishes are cold-blooded, means they cannot regulate body temperature. Fishes living in extreme cold region can produce glycoproteins, which is an anti-freeze agent in their body, and that circulate through the blood, and this helps it from freezing. Now, let us see other concept, that is population attributes. A population has certain attributes that an individual organism does not. An individual may have births and deaths, but a population has different attributes like birth rate, that is natality, the death rate, that is mortality, sex ratio, and population density. Population consists of individuals of different age group. In a population, birth and death rate refer to per capita birth and death respectively. The rates hence expressed is change in the number, either increase or decrease with respect to the members of the population. Suppose I am giving one example. There is a pond having 20 lotus last year, but through reproduction 8 new plants are added. Then the current population is how much? It is 28, 20 plus 8. But when we calculate birth rate, then it is 8 divided by 20 is equal to 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. So in this way we can calculate the birth rate. As we have earlier discussed that a population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. The three ecological age groups are pre-reproductive, reproductive, and post-reproductive. It can be represented by age pyramids, and the shape of pyramid shows the growth status of the population. It may be expanding or growing, stable or declining population. Here you can see that is representation of age pyramid for human population. You may find the differences between expanding, stable and declining population. Now the next topic is about population growth. The size of a population for any species is not a static parameter, but it keeps on changing in time. Population growth depends upon several factors like availability of food, predation pressure, as well as adverse weather condition. Thus, population growth varies due to four basic processes. And what are the four basic processes? They are natality, mortality, immigration, and emigration. Now let us discuss in detail about the four basic processes. First, it is natality. Natality means number of birth during a given period in a population. Second is mortality. It means the number of death in a given period in a population. Another is immigration. It means number of individuals of the same species that have come into the habitat from somewhere during the time period under consideration. Last one is emigration. Here the number of individuals of the population who left the habitat and gone elsewhere during the time period under consideration. Now it is about population density. Suppose n is the population density at time t, then its density at time t plus 1 is nt plus 1 is equal to nt plus b plus I minus d plus e. Here n stands for population density, t stands for time, b for birth rate, I for immigration, and d for death rate, and e for emigration. B plus I means increase in population and D plus E means decrease in population. Now we will discuss about population growth models. Population growth means increase in its size. It is of two types, that is exponential growth model and logistic growth models. Exponential growth model occurs when availability of resources are unlimited. In this case, population grow in an exponential or geometric progression. If in a population of size n, the birth rates are represented by B and death rates are represented by D, then the increase or decrease in n during a unit time period t, dn by dt, will be dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. Let b minus d is equal to r, then dn by dt is equal to rn, where r is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. The exponential growth model is J-shaped. When we plot n in relation to time, the integral form of the exponential growth is nt is equal to n0 to the power ERT, where nt is equal to population density after time t, n0 is equal to population density at time 0, and r is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is the base natural logarithm, that is equal to 2.71828. Here you can observe the exponential growth model when plotted on graph with respect to population size and time. Now another is logistic growth model. Logistic growth models show sigmoid curve when we plot n in relation to time. It is called as Verhulst pure logistic growth. It has been seen that no population can continue to grow exponentially, as the resources availability become limiting at certain point of time. So there is competition among the individuals, and survival of the fittest individual will survive and they able to reproduce. So it is represented by dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n divided by k, where n is equal to population density at time t, r is equal to intrinsic rate of natural increase, k is the carrying capacity. The logistic growth model is considered as more realistic one. In the given graph, you may observe the logistic growth model having sigmoid curve and carrying capacity. Carrying capacity means up to that the growth increases and again it becomes constant. In the given graph, you may compare both exponential as well as logistic growth curve. So this is all about today's session. Thank you. For any kind of doubts, please write your question in comment section.